Has this ever happened to you? You catch an amazing concert and the lead guitar player sounds so incredible that it makes you rethink your life choices. It can't be the 10,000 hours plus worth of practice. No, it must be that PRS that they're playing, or heck, maybe it's the amp. Maybe you would sound that good if you got yourself some gear like that. Or you walk into a guitar store just to, buy some strings, only to be totally blindsided by some blinged out Gretsch, or maybe it's a relict Telecaster, or I don't know, maybe what turns your head is, like a multi-scale, like shred machine. But before you even grab the guitar off the wall, the gravity of the black hole in your wallet sucks you back to reality, and you remember that guitars like that aren't for mortal beings. You're left going back home to the same old guitar that you've been playing for ages. Well, today we're going to talk about a few different modifications for you to consider doing to your guitar. These mods could unlock new tones, increase your instrument's versatility, or even improve the playability on your favorite instrument. You're going to want to stick around. Welcome, fellow musicians. My name is Adam from Miller's Custom Guitars, and this channel is all about helping you as an instrument owner to understand and connect more with your instrument so you can stop thinking and start playing. One reason I am so passionate about helping people to get their instruments playing great, whether it's one of my own customers who's brought their instrument to me to service it, or it's you, the viewer, watching right now, is because when your guitar and instruments play great, it helps you as a musician to become the best version of yourself. And that's what we're trying to do here together, you and me, here on this channel. Sometimes, however, as musicians, we find ourselves in, a little bit of a musical rut, so to speak. Whether it's because we found ourselves hamstrung by the shortcomings of our wallet, or it's the limitations of our own creativity. One thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, you realize you've been playing the same riffs on the same gear, using the same sounds in the same ways. Not only are you bored, but you've become boring. There are lots of ways to break through the rut that don't even cost a dime. I highly recommend trying out an alternative tuning, for example. Or heck, just even trying different settings with your existing pedals or amps. Hey, for an example of this, check out the video that I did where I turned my amp up all the way for the first time to see what I mean. But heck, this is the internet, and on here, talking about things that you can do for free, that's boring. This is the internet, and the internet is all about getting you to spend money, right? Well, heck, on this channel at least, we're going to talk about some ways to break out of that rut that won't also break the bank. Because today, we're going to talk about my top 5 favorite guitar modifications, and the most expensive one is only about $80. Each of these guitar mods will bring something a little different to your instrument, ranging from minor to potentially revolutionary. And each one can open up completely new tones or playing possibilities for you if you let it. We're going to talk about them from the least expensive to the most expensive, and completely by coincidence, the list also perfectly aligns with how much I love these mods. So let's talk about it. The first mod I want to talk about today is the easiest, and it's completely free. If you have a Stratocaster style guitar with a tremolo, I'd like you to consider changing how you've got the tremolo set. The tremolo on a Strat is designed to be able to function perfectly in a number of different configurations. Maybe you're like me, and when you got your first Strat, the tremolo wasn't very good. And so you found one setting that made the guitar like playable, and then that's how you left it. And that's how you've set like every Strat that you've gotten ever since then. Look, this isn't your fault. Most of us start with inexpensive guitars, and cheap guitars have cheap hardware. Another common trapping that a lot of players make is to just leave the tremolo set up how it came from the store. Very often, the tremolo on Strat style guitars, they're not set up very well out of the box, especially after sitting in a music store for months, especially if you started with an inexpensive guitar. Most of us end up getting used to how the tremolo was set when we got it, never realizing that setting the tremolo to your specific preferences can be part of the equation to truly getting your guitar playing the way you always hoped that it would. If you're running the tremolo on your Strat the same way that you've always ran it, I recommend experimenting with one of these 3 different ways. Each provides a completely different playing experience, and it's worth experimenting to see which you like best. No matter which method you choose, the process of adjusting the trem is the same. Remove the tremolo spring cover and adjust the tremolo cloth screws using a long screwdriver. I like to do a couple of turns at a time and then retune and check before repeating until you get your desired setting. Once you're all the way done, you may want to recheck your string height and intonation following the train method because that can change. However, in most cases, small adjustments to the trim likely won't affect those settings very much. Also, no matter which method you land on, I highly recommend making sure that your nut is well cut and that the nut slots are well lubricated, whether with pencil graphite or another lubricant like Tri-Flow or nut sauce. And don't forget to reinstall the spring cover once you're done, like I definitely always remember to do. The first and probably most common way that you can run your tremolo is for the bridge to be just slightly elevated above the body. In this scenario, the bridge will be anywhere from like a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch above the body in a very slightly floating configuration. This works for a lot of players because it will allow you to use the tremolo to either raise or lower the pitch. However, it won't let you raise the pitch very far, just a little bit. But for most players, that's enough. This is great if you are just using your trim for a mild flutter effect. Now, this isn't the way that I like to run my tremolo, but it's very versatile and it's worth trying. If you are a player that palm mutes a lot with your hand resting on the saddles, or if you like to play solos while open strings are ringing out, or if you use a lot of double stop bends, or if you want to maximize your guitar's sustain, then you might want to consider decking your trem. This refers to lowering the bridge so that it's all the way against the body. There are a number of benefits to this method, and it's definitely worth trying out. I've ran my Trem like this before, and I've always enjoyed it. The first benefit is that your guitar will instantly have more sustain because the bridge is in full contact with the body, transferring more vibration from the strings to the wood. Additionally, if you palm mute, you will find the tuning of your instrument is more stable since the bridge isn't moving due to the pressure of your hand. When you bend notes, the bridge will stay against the body, allowing other notes on the fretboard to stay in tune, meaning that especially open strings and double stop bends will be in tune with whatever notes you are playing. And you still have the benefit of being able to use the tremolo even if it is in a dive only configuration. This is a great way to run the tremolo, and a lot of players use it. I've used it in the past, but it's still not the way I like to run my tremolo. I don't prefer it because the tremolo is a bit stiff. The third way that I'd like to recommend that you try to run your tremolo is to float your tremolo and to actually tune it. Believe it or not, because of the gauges of the strings and the action of the tremolo, you can adjust how far the tremolo can move so that when you pull up on the tremolo bar, the pitch moves a specific amount. It's a little tricky to get it set right, but when it's dialed in properly, you can use the tremolo to bend up a half note on the high E string, a whole note on the B string, and a minor third on the G string. The rest of the notes average out to around a whole note. To tune your Trem like this, just grab a tuner and a screwdriver and some patience, because it kind of takes a while to dial in because the tremolo, it's like a balanced system. You tune the guitar, make sure that the intonation is good, and then you play the 12th fret on the high E string, and then you pull the tremolo all the way tight to the body, and then you play the note and you check the pitch with the tuner. You want that note to have gone up from an E to an E sharp and be in tune. If the note was flat, then the tremolo needs more movement, and you'll need to loosen the tremolo spring screws. I like to do about a half to a full turn each, then retune the guitar and recheck. You got to keep doing this until the note is in tune when you pull up. Once it's in tune, check the other notes. Most of the time, if you get that high E string, the rest of the notes usually fall in tune. The B string should go up a whole note, and then G string should raise in pitch 3 half steps, otherwise known as a minor third. There's a lot of retuning and rechecking here, but that's how it goes. This is how I like to run my Strats, and I love the ability to perfectly bend a pitch while playing, and I have found a number of uses. No matter how you run your tremolo, I recommend giving one of these methods a try, and I really recommend trying a different method than you're used to just to shake it up a little bit. I think you're going to find that this will help you to break out of the rut. The second mod I want to talk about is one of my all-time favorite mods for the Telecaster, and it also won't cost you a dime. All you will need is a few common tools, a few minutes to spare, and you won't even need to loosen the strings. The mod I'm talking about is flipping the control plate on a Telecaster. This mod couldn't be easier. You remove the knobs and the switch tip from your Telecaster control plate. You then unscrew the control plate from the body. You remove the two screws from the pickup selector and flip the orientation of the pickup selector. Then you remount the switch. Then you use a wrench to unmount both pots, and you swap the location of the pots so that the tone pot is closest to the switch and the volume pot is furthest away from the switch, and you remount those pots and you tighten the nuts. Lastly, you just reinstall the control plate, but this time you flip it around with the controls flip. The switch should be in the back and the pots should be up front closer to where you play. Reinstall the knobs and the switch tip and you're done. If there's enough wire in your guitar, this entire mod can be done without turning on the soldering iron or anything. You can do this mod in like 10 minutes or less. Myself and countless other Telecaster players love this mod for a number of reasons. One reason, and this is kind of a silly reason, but I have found this to be true, is that it moves the switch away from your playing hand so that you're less likely to accidentally bump it while playing aggressively. And I can be an aggressive player, so I have found this to be a benefit. This doesn't happen to me as much on a Telecaster as it does, say, like on a Strat or a Les Paul style guitar, but it does happen occasionally. Moving the switch gets it out of the way so that it stays on the pickup that you want it to be on. But the real beauty of this mod is that it puts the volume control literally right at your fingertips. If you're a player who, like me, relies on like a volume pedal to control your signal volume and like always runs your guitar volume like wide open, like learning to control the volume of your signal from your guitar, that could be like a real game changer, especially on like an expressive guitar like a Telecaster. When you put the volume up front like this, it makes it much easier to do volume swells using your pinky finger, sometimes called like a pinky swell. I love this mod because it pushes me to try new or different techniques that I'm unaccustomed to using. And believe it or not, this actually helps me to be a better player by giving me more tools at my disposal. And learning how to master the tools that you already have is a great way to become a better player. This is a simple but powerful mod, and I hope that you try it. The third mod is one that was brought to my attention by one of my customers. That is replacing one of your pots with a shadow kill pot. I love this mod. Many guitar players throughout the years have added a little bit of punk rock to their guitar by adding a kill switch to the circuit. And look, there's a number of ways to do this. And likely one of the earliest was to just roll the volume all the way down on one of the pickups of a Gibson style guitar and then quickly flip the pickup selector switch back and forth. Like, this will do the job, but it's not a great way to do it. Since it's not super fast and it puts a bunch of wear on your selector switch, at some point, there was some resourceful guitar tech or guitar owner that realized that adding a dedicated button would be a much better solution. Since it activates much more quickly, what it does is it shunts the guitar signal directly to ground, which immediately kills all of your guitar's sound. People have used a number of different buttons for this throughout the years. However, they often settle on like the big plastic arcade buttons. However, a lot of people, including myself, I don't really love this solution either, because you either need to lose one of your existing knobs or drill an extra hole into the top of your guitar or into your pick guard to add an extra control for your kill switch. Not to mention, you have to find a source for those buttons. This is one reason why, when a customer brought in a potentiometer with a built-in kill switch for installation on his guitar, that I was completely blown away by this relatively new product called the Shadow Kill Pot. This is such a great option because it requires no permanent modifications to your guitar. It's pretty quick to install and it works really awesome. It works perfectly. The pots are sold in 250K, 500K, and 25K varieties for use with active pickups. And it only costs about 30 bucks. And the installation's pretty simple. You choose which control on your guitar you want to be the Shadow Kill pot. You remove the knob from that pot, you loosen the nut, and you desolder the lugs. And you take note on that pot of which wires go to which lug, and you remove the old pot. And if this pot has a bunch of wires grounded to the back for ground, you may want to move most of the grounding wires to another pot. Then you install the new Shadow Kill pot in the same orientation, and you reattach the wires in the same configuration. And that way the pot will have the same control that it had previously. Then there's one last thing you need to do. You run 2 jumper wires, one each from the special lugs on the back of the pot. One goes to the hot of your signal and one goes to the ground. Just to be clear, you can install this pot anywhere on your guitar. It doesn't need to be the volume, it can be the tone, it could be anything. And then to wire in the kill switch function, you just had 2 jumpers. You just rob a signal off the hot. This wire will usually slice off whatever is going off to the output. And one that is a direct jumper to go to ground, and you can jumper that anywhere on your guitar. You need to make sure that you test the circuit to make sure everything's working right. Then you button everything back up before reinstalling your knob at the end. Look, I love this arrangement so much more than any other kill switch button arrangement that I've seen. The kill switch function is super accessible, and you still have the function of whichever pot you replaced. Additionally, there's no outwardly noticeable modifications, so the installation is super clean. But best of all, it works so great with a super fast short throw on the button with an immediate cutoff to the signal. Check out this demonstration of how it worked after I installed it on my customer's guitar. It's awesome. The fourth modification I want to talk about, it might be the trickiest of the bunch as far as installation goes, and that is installing a Freeway switch on your guitar. Freeway makes these amazing, revolutionary switches that literally double the tonal options on your guitar. A Telecaster with a 3-way switch becomes a 6-position switch. A Stratocaster with a 5-position switch becomes a 10-position switch. They even make 3-way toggles for Gibson style guitars, and those become 6-position toggles. This is just amazing, guys. Freeway switches tend to run about $50. You can get them from StewMac and other suppliers. Look, installing the switch can be tricky since you will need to fire up the soldering iron. You're gonna have to unsolder your old switch, keeping track of which wires are coming from each pickup, and attach them to the Freeway switch following the provided wiring instructions. You're gonna have to make sure not to burn any wires and try to keep from developing cold solder joints. It is kind of tricky, and you're gonna have to learn how to do some wiring. Then you're gonna need to troubleshoot everything with the tap test on the pickups before you close everything back up. But what does this give you? What can you do with a Freeway switch? Well, the answer is that you can greatly increase the tonal landscape offered by your guitar. When added to a Telecaster, for example, in addition to the normal 3 options, you also get out of phase, series, and series out of phase sounds added to the regular options. The best part is that the switch installs without any outwardly visible or noticeable changes to your guitar, and is also completely reversible if you ever want to return your guitar to stock. No, I'm sorry. Forget I said that. That's not the best part. The best part is the amazing new tonal options that are right at your fingertips. Look, you don't need a new amp. You don't need new pedals. Check out some of the awesome tones that we can get now thanks to this new switch. Who needs a new guitar? I've got all these new tones right here at our fingertips. Take a look at this Nashville style Telecaster that's had a Freeway switch installed. In addition to the normal 5 positions that the switch would offer, similar to a Strat, the switch offers additional parallel switching options, including nick and middle, all 3 pickups, as well as 3 separate series options. Check out some of these tones. This Tele has the Freeway switch installed, and it kind of acts like a gear shifter. This switch has like a down mode and an up mode. When it's in down mode, it functions exactly like a normal switch. Let me show you real quick. Up is the neck. And the back is the bridge. Great sounding guitar, has all the sounds. But then when you move the switch to the up position, it activates a whole set of different sounds. We'll start with the front setting, which is these 2 pickups in series, like a humbucker. So let's check this out. Just compare that to a neck single pickup by itself. The next one here is the 4 position here is the neck and bridge pickup. This is like what you would have on a traditional Telecaster. Amazing sound. If you're playing a Nashville Tele like this is a sound that you lost, now it's back. You go into the middle position and it's actually the same 2 pickups, but now they're in series instead of parallel. So it's those 2 pickups as a humbucker. Amazing sound. The next pickup is in the 2 position is all 3 pickups in parallel, and it gets a very bright chimey sound. Like, I think this would be really great for if you needed some extra chime, if you wanted to do maybe some funk stuff, you know. Or if you were playing in church and you needed like a chimey sound. The last is the back 2 pickups, and that is in a humbucker setting. This is great if you're going for that Brian May kind of thing. The 5th and final modification that you can add to a guitar, sure, it's the most expensive, but look, this is also my favorite. I've used one of these on my primary acoustic guitar for about 20 years, and that is a guitar extender made by Hipshot. Hipshot makes these for electric guitar and acoustic guitar and bass. And they also offer different tuning buttons to help match your guitar better. Now look, installation on these can be tricky, and they take some getting used to once installed before you can be able to use one quickly and easily. To install, you're going to first need to loosen and remove your low E string, and you'll need to uninstall the tuning machines for the same string. Look, that all is pretty easy, but the method may vary depending on what kind of tuning machine you have. On this guitar, I had to loosen the nut and remove the screw in the back, but your tuner may have a bushing that needs to be pressed out. Once the old tuner is off, you're going to first do a test fit to see if the extender will fit on your guitar. You may need to widen the tuner hole. If you have to do that, I prefer to use a tapered reamer rather than a drill bit if I have to do that type of job. You may find that the plate for the guitar extender is too large and will interfere with your other tuners. If that's the case, you might be out of luck. However, I found that they usually install pretty easily on a lot of different guitars. I like to add the washer nut to the front of the tuner shaft, finger tight only, to hold the thing in place and finalize the alignment, then pre-drill the new screw holes for the plate, making sure not to drill too deep before screwing the mounting plate down securely and then tightening the nut. String up the guitar like normal, and you're basically ready to start using the dang thing. But what does it even do? Very simply, it allows you to almost instantly swap between two different tunings on one string. Well, what good does that do? Well, the most obvious benefit is it allows you to quickly and repeatably swap between standard and drop D tuning. Look, when I was gigging, I used to keep separate guitars tuned to drop D and standard tunings all the time and swap between them for different songs when I wanted drop D. But with the guitar extender installed, look, you don't gotta do that. You can just flip the lever and instantly be in drop D anytime you want. Look, once you get good enough using the guitar extender, you can flip it on and off during the song. Sometimes you want to play the song in standard tuning, but you want just one really powerful D chord for a few measures, you know? Look, that's where it comes into place. Look, there's a thumb screw on the back that allows you to fine tune the note once you've lowered the pitch. I found it easiest to adjust the pitch when there's no tension. So there's a lot of flipping, checking, flipping, adjusting, flipping, checking again, and so on until the detuned note is where you want it. Now, I want you to check out some of the awesome ways that I like to use the guitar extender, both on electric and acoustic. Check it out. There are so many things that you can do to a guitar to personalize it and make it truly your own, or expand the tonality or playability in ways that were previously unachievable. From something simple like experimenting with alternative tuning to something as drastic as swapping critical parts like the pickups or even the entire neck, making smaller tweaks to our existing instrument can open up a whole world of possibilities for a fraction of the cost of purchasing a whole new instrument. When you do this, you join the ranks of famous guitarists who modified their guitar to achieve what they were looking for. Musicians like Eddie Van Halen, Malcolm Young, Eric Clapton, Jack White, Pete Townsend, countless others. Us guitar players, we're always drooling over the next piece of guitar gear, wishing we had the next guitar, even sometimes when we just got our hands on the brand new one a few minutes ago. Heck, we even invented a name for it: GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. However, before you decide that you just have to have a new guitar, I think it's worth taking a second look at one of your current guitars and seeing if one of these modifications wouldn't breathe new life into it. Because this channel is all about helping you to understand your guitar better, just like I say all the time. I want to help turn your guitar into your very own custom guitar, so you can play the way that you want to play. So those are some of my favorite guitar modifications, but what are some of yours? I want to hear about them. Tell me your favorites down in the comments, or even better, I invite you to keep the discussion going by doing a video response, either here on YouTube or on Instagram, or heck, on TikTok. Tell me what that modification is and why you love it so much. Listen, if you enjoyed this video, I would ask that you please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out. That way we can grow together. And look, I have some merch on the channel. I put a link in the description. If you want to get a Miller's Custom Guitar shirt or a hat, you can follow the links below and you can get that. Also, the algorithm thinks you should watch this video, but personally, I think you should watch this video. Anyway, until next time, guys, don't be a jerk.